Hi everyone and welcome back to English for You. I'm Pat.
And I'm Mike.
So today we're on our second day about the Myers-Briggs Type Indicator Test, or MBTI test. And this is it's a test of your personality. It's not having to be 100% reliable and accurate, but it's an indicator. It gives you some ideas.
That's right. Now, it was created back in 1943 by a mother and her daughter. And they continued to update and develop and change this test over time as they used it on people, as they got feedback and found ways that the test was good and maybe areas where the test was not so good. They based it on some real science, some real theories from the famous, I think, Swiss psychologist Carl Jung, who's a well-known thinker, philosopher, and writer. So they based it on a lot of his theories of different personality types, and it was designed to help people to understand themselves and others.
Now, some critics will say, well, the creators were not trained in psychology, and also people react differently in different situations, so their results could change. So they're saying the test may not be 100% reliable, accurate, and so on.
Okay,
does that matter?
Well, there you go. It doesn't really matter if you're not using it to put people in boxes, and they didn't design it that way. They designed it so it can give some people ideas that they can use to understand themselves and others, and it's interesting.
Yeah, make better relationships, give a few pointers.
Yeah.
So today we're going to look at what kind of types can be indicated by this test. Let's check out day 2.
Reading.
An introduction to the MBTI personality test. There are 4 groups in the MBTI test. Each group has 2 possible results. The results of each group combine in different ways to make 16 different personality types. 1. Introvert, I, or extrovert, E. Do you prefer to spend time by yourself, or do you like being in a group of people? If you rest better when you're on your own, then you are an introvert, I. Someone who gets their energy from being with other people is an extrovert, E. 2. Sensing, S, or intuition, N. Sensing, S, means you prefer information that is more realistic. Intuition, N, means that you rely more on interpretation and imagination. 3. Thinking, T, or feeling, F. This group shows how you make decisions. Those who make their decisions based on facts are thinking, T. Those who base decisions on emotion are feeling, F. 4. Judging, J, or perceiving, P. It is this group that determines how people arrange their lives. Judging, J, means that you make plans and follow them exactly. Perceiving, P, means that you like to make plans up as you go along. These people like to investigate many different possibilities. Each group makes you more aware of yourself, including the positive and negative parts of your personality. Why not try it for yourself?
All right, so let's look at what we would kind of see if we tried one of these tests or looked at the results from one of these tests. First, we read there are 4 groups in the MBTI test. Okay, so it's one test, but it's broken down into 4 different groups.
Okay, and each group has 2 possible results.
Okay.
Well, don't worry, so you'll see what it means when we're talking about groups and results when we get into it.
I see. So we have 4 groups and then 2 results that's 8. We're up to 8 possible sort of results or whatever. And then it says the results of each group combine in different ways to make 16 different personality types.
Now, again, of course, there are lots more different personality types than 16. So these are kind of quite general indicators rather than being very specific.
I kind of think of it like when you look at star signs, Leo, Cancer, Gemini. They'll say, Leo, you're this kind of person. I'm not a Leo, but I can often read that and go, but I'm like that a little bit too. So there's a lot of overlap, I guess, between these groups with the people.
So we're going to start with group 1 and its 2 results. So group 1 is introvert, I, or extrovert, E. Okay, we'll explain those words in just a moment, but that's our first one. So I and E from introvert or extrovert. And we explain this by asking, do you prefer to spend time by yourself, or do you like being in a group of people? And so this is all about what you prefer. If you prefer something, you like something more than something else. It's not saying like and don't like, it's saying, well, I like both, but this one I like a little more, so I prefer this one. If I had the choice, I would choose this. I'm happy with this, but I would prefer this one. You could say, for example, would you prefer to have spaghetti or beef noodle soup for lunch?
Let's see. I'm wearing a dark shirt. I can have spaghetti because if I get little spots, it'll be okay.
I'll hide it.
There you go. Back to the article. It says, if you rest better when you're on your own, then you're an introvert. So the kind of person who loves spending time at home on their own. They really have no problem reading books or watching TV by themselves. They don't feel lonely or anything like that. That person would be an introvert.
On the other hand, someone who gets their energy from being with other people is an extrovert. If you don't really like being on your own, as soon as you're in a group, you're like, hey, everybody, I'm full of energy, I'm really enjoying this situation, you're probably an extrovert. You kind of don't mind being seen, taking part in stuff, chatting with everybody. An introvert would prefer to just be with 1 or 2 people. And even then, they'll kind of feel like they want to have some alone time as well, just to relax from that social situation.
That's right. The introvert would be standing in the corner by the wall at the party. The extrovert would be the life of the party with the lampshade on their head, partying with everyone else. Let's look at the second category. We have number 2, category 2, sensing, S, or intuition, N. So we have to use N for intuition because, of course, I was introvert. Sensing. So this is kind of about how you learn things about the world, or moving on to a different part of your personality. Sensing, the first one there, S, means you prefer information that is more realistic. All right, so you want the facts and things like that. Realistic means, based on facts, based on situations that are really true, that really happened, that really are. Not from someone's imagination or a story or something you're guessing. You want to know the facts, ma'am. Seemingly accurate and true to life. That's what people who have a realistic worldview are much more interested in, or much more appealing to. That kind of thing appeals to them more.
But what about intuition? Well, if you've got this kind of test indicator, intuition, N, means that you rely more on interpretation and imagination. You're not so concerned about the absolute facts, you're more concerned, how do you feel about them? How does that kind of work for you? What's your take on it? And that's what you rely on. To rely on something means to use that thing as a kind of primary or main source of information or support. You're like, I could go and look up the facts, but that doesn't tell me much. I don't really get much out of it. How do I feel about this thing? That's what I rely on when I'm making my decisions. Not just the facts, but how do I feel about it? I guess it's like some people will say, I make decisions with my head versus I make decisions with my heart.
There you go. And in interpretation, this is basically one person's explanation of something that happens. Often things that happen in the world don't have a clear reason or a clear right or wrong or yes or no or good or bad. The way you see it, the way you experience it, and the way Pat or I experience it or see it might be different, and that will be our different interpretations. We often see this, especially when looking at art. If you look at a painting that isn't clearly one thing, it's one of those sort of modern paintings, or you're reading a poem or the words to a song, different people will have different interpretations based on their life experience, the things that they like, the things that they know. So that is what we will talk about as being an interpretation. Now, in some areas, that's fine. In art, that's fine. But of course, when we get to like the news or facts or science, we can't have so many areas for interpretations because we need the facts, we need the truth, we need to really know what's going on. An interpretation, though, is your version of what you say is going on.
Okay, so these people with this N characteristic, they like a bit of interpretation. They also like imagination. Let's find out what that word means. Your imagination is the ability of your mind to be creative. It's this ability, or it's the action of forming new ideas, concepts, thinking about stuff that you can't actually see, smell, or touch. If it's not there, then you've got to kind of create a picture in your mind. That is your imagination, or at least think of the words for it if you can't see it. For example, if you've got not a different kind of imagination, if someone said horse, you would think, no, there's no horse here, I've got no idea. But if you've got a reasonable amount of imagination, you think, oh, what does this horse look like? What sound do horses make? How big are they? What do they smell like? If you can think of all that stuff, your imagination is working fine. Here's an example sentence. Children have a great deal of imagination and often act out all kinds of stories as they play. So we've had group 1, which is all about kind of being around people or not.
Yep.
Group 2, which is about what kind of information you prefer to receive.
And how to receive it. Yep.
Yeah, what's group 3?
Group 3 is broken down into 2 smaller groups again, thinking, T, or feeling, F. Okay, so this is a little bit like the last category, but basically this group shows how you make decisions. So not so much about how you get information, but what you do with that information and how you decide to take some action afterwards.
Okay, so I guess this does relate to group 2.
Yeah.
And we see those who make their decisions based on facts are thinking.
Okay.
T. Now, of course, we did cover that phrasal verb base on yesterday. It's used to show the foundation of something, what you start with and grow from. So in this case, you're going, I have facts. And using these facts as my base, I will choose a course of action. I'll make a decision.
And then we read, those who base decisions on emotion are feeling. So they're deciding more with their heart and not so much with their mind.
Okay, so those are our first 3 groups. We've now got group 4, which is split into judging, J, or perceiving, P. And we see it is this group that determines how people arrange their lives. We've got a few vocab words to look at in there, but first we need to check out today's language in focus to explain why we wrote that sentence the way we did. So in that sentence, we said it is this group that does something. And using it, the be verb, an object, and that leading to a clause, this is a way to emphasize a particular thing or object by putting it earlier in the sentence. Okay, we could say this group determines how people arrange their lives. That's fine. But by making it is this group that, we're making sure readers pay attention to the sentence. Remember, it's the group that's the important thing, okay? The it here is a dummy pronoun. It doesn't stand for a particular person or object or thing. It's just saying that it's needed to complete the sentence, really. It is this group that does this thing. Pay attention to this group and what it does. Here's another example sentence. It was the people of Belgium who likely first invented French fries. So we're saying it is this group that determines what you're going to do.
That's right. To determine here, we're using it as a verb. So don't be confused by determined, the adjective, when you're not going to quit, when you're not going to fail, when you'll go on until victory. You are very determined. Good for you. But here we're using it as a verb. To determine is basically to control what something will be. So if you have some kind of power over something, you can determine that. Or maybe nature has that that power and you don't really, maybe just luck has that power. But if something decides, or if, an action before then causes another action to definitely happen, that first action determined that the second action would take place. For example, the score that you get on this test will determine which Spanish class you will be in next semester. Is it kind of like the word decide? It is kind of like the word decide, yes.
Yeah, so if you get a poor score on the test, that will put you in the low beginner class. If you get a high score, you'll be put in the advanced class. So taking this test will choose, decide, determine what happens next. So we've got these two groups, or the two results, judging J and perceiving P. Let's start with judging and what this says about or indicates about your personality. Judging, J, means that you make plans and follow them exactly.
Okay. You're a pretty organized person, probably.
This sounds like my father, in fact. He loves to make a plan and follow it, and he's not great if that plan needs to change.
Even if it clearly should change, the plan has been determined. We will do it this way.
Yeah, he likes to follow it exactly. The adverb exactly means in every way, in every detail, okay? This is what it is, and this is what it still is. And every detail is right, it's perfect, it's as it should be. So you might say, this pizza isn't exactly what I ordered. Maybe its topping's a bit different, it's got less cheese or more cheese.
I'm so sorry, sir.
This pizza isn't exactly what I ordered, but it's okay, I'll eat it anyway.
Oh, you're so kind, sir. Thank you very much.
So that's judging. You go, this is the plan. We stick to the plan. We follow the plan. It doesn't matter if things are changing. The plan is the plan.
All right, very organized person who likes to have lists and all that kind of stuff. What about the opposite type? Perceiving, P, means that you like to make plans up as you go along. You're the kind of free spirit who just goes with the flow. People say, hey, what are you going to do on your holiday? You're like, I have no idea. I'll just decide when I get there. Whereas the other type of person, on Monday we'll go to this museum, and then at 12 o'clock we'll go here, and then at 2 o'clock we'll go there. This other type of person, nope, they don't really mind. They'll just make it up. They're free to go with their mood or their emotions or whatever happens. They just like to go with the flow, as I mentioned. A make-up is basically to create something from your imagination. If you're a writer or a musician, an artist, you make up a story, you make up a song, you make up an idea for a painting, and then you go out and do it. You don't copy it from somewhere. You don't have someone tell you what to do. You just do it on your own with your own creativity.
And we often see the phrase make up something with this other phrase, as one goes along. Make it up as you go along. That means you're creating something, but you're doing it without any planning. You haven't sat down before and had a bit of a think about what you're going to do. You just go, okay, here I am. I'm going to do this now. And now I'm going to do this. We could also say you make it up on the spot. There's no planning, you're just going with whatever feels right at that moment.
That's right. There's another good expression, you wing it. I'm just going to wing it. What are you going to do for your school presentation for 90% of your history class, Mark? Oh, I'm just going to wing it.
Yeah.
You'll probably not do very well. But if you're on holiday for your daily schedule for traveling, hey, yeah, wing it. Just go with the flow. Make it up as you go along. And it says these people like to investigate many different possibilities. So they're not the kind of person, you said, like your dad, who makes that list, who sticks to the list. No, they like to kind of know the options and then maybe change their minds as they go along. Let's talk about the word investigate. Investigate means to basically to research, to look into further, to get more information about, to uncover, to ask questions and get answers to those questions. The police, of course, will investigate a crime, especially when they can't clearly see who did it. Newspapers will investigate big stories that will affect the lives of many people. And you might investigate things when something strange and mysterious happens in your life. I made an apple pie, I left the room, I came back, there's a piece missing. Who took that piece? I will go and investigate. You want to find out more. For example, the police and a group of engineers will investigate why the bridge collapsed. Oh, that's a serious thing to investigate.
So now we've looked at those 4 groups and the different results and what that might mean and suggest about you. And so we're wrapping up the article now. It says each group makes you more aware of yourself, including the positive and negative parts of your personality. Because sometimes it's good to be able to follow a plan, but sometimes it's not. And sometimes it's good to be able to make things up as you go along, but you shouldn't always do that. So that's why you need to be aware of what your personality might lead you to do. To be aware of something is to know about it. You understand that this thing exists. It's not a surprise to you. It's not new information. You're like, do you know it's this person's birthday? Yeah, I'm aware it's her birthday. I've got her a card. Or another example, are you aware that school tomorrow has been cancelled? Yes, I am. I saw it on the news.
There you go. That's good news to be aware of. Back to the article, and then we finish with a question kind of encouraging you guys. Why not try it for yourself? Yeah, you can take it seriously, but really you can use it best as a kind of guide to getting to know yourself a little bit better and kind of look at it as a bit of fun.
Okay, that brings us to the end of today's article, but we're not quite done yet. We have our For You chat question.
You chat.
All right, so our chat question is kind of imagining we've done this test and we might be looking at the results, or without doing the test, can you kind of guess some of the results that you might get? Because the question is, which personality groups do you think you have? So think maybe just of those 8 from our article.
All right, so we've got E and I first, introvert, extrovert.
Yeah.
Toss a coin, because as some of you guys know, I love being on stage and acting, so that's extrovert.
Definitely.
But I also like being alone and writing stories. So it all really depends on what, that's one of the ones like in day 1 we said, kind of depends on the situation.
Yeah.
So I'd probably edge towards extrovert rather than introvert. Okay, so then we had, what was the next one? Sensing and intuition, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Sensing, intuition, that was about where you get your information. I prefer the facts. I think I prefer reality-based information.
Yeah, I think
so.
I would
Sensing. And then we had, what was it? What you do with the facts, wasn't it?
Right. Yeah. Judging.
No, it wasn't judging, perceiving. It was the one before that. I've kind of forgotten the letters now. I think it's like thinking and feeling, TNF.
TNF,
Thinking, yeah, definitely will want to use my brain and facts and make decisions based on those. And then judging and perceiving, I'm usually, it depends what I'm doing. If it's at work, absolutely judging. Get a plan, stick to it. On vacation, I'm much more of a perceiving kind of roll with it, just make it up as I go along.
With the flow.
Any additions?
Well, I mean, talking about how you change, I think with the first one, I always kind of feel, how tired am I? If I'm really tired, I will be the introvert at the party. I'll sit in the corner, I'll smile at people, but I can't really carry on a conversation. But if I'm full of energy, I love to go out and meet people and ask them interesting questions and find out. Because it really depends on how you're feeling. Because, you know, your feelings do change. Unlike your height or things like that you're kind of born with, your feelings do change through the day, through how tired you are, what kind of news you've gotten, what's going on in your life. But that's why this kind of thing shouldn't be taken too seriously. But it certainly is fun, and it definitely is interesting.
Okay, that's all the time we've got. Thanks for watching, everybody. For English for You, I'm Pat.
And I'm Mike.
See you again soon. Bye-bye.
Bye. Vocabulary Review.
Prefer. Ben likes to play basketball on weekends, while Tim prefers to play video games. Imagination. With just imagination and a few simple toys, children act out stories when they play. Determine. Many people believe that success is not determined by money, but by what you do in life. Exactly. Please cut out these shapes exactly. Don't leave any extra paper on the edges. Investigate. The fire department is still investigating what caused the building to burn down. Aware. This news report about homeless people will make everyone more aware of the problems in this city.
智慧小补帖
Realistic. Interpretation.
以上节目是由活用空中美语制作。活用空中美语杂志，请洽询全国各大书店。如欲索取试听教材，请来电02-2364-4000 02-2364-4000，或上网查询，网址是 www.english4u.net www.english4u.net